left onto US 19 North.
On our way to current performance wiring. If you remember the last time I posted on this truck, we dropped the engine off with Jared. He had to build the harness to suit the engine. The last engine he did was a 2018 and everything is different. So he had to build the harness off the engine so all the wiring routes the way he wanted it, and obviously the harness is set up the way he needs it. So we still have a few other things going on, intakes, some titanium tube and that kind of thing still to build, which we can do around this truck. But the plan is to get the motor, get the harness, get it back to the shop, first thing tomorrow morning, start on this truck. And it's kind of like one of those, it's like any new project for the first time, you're kind of nervous because I mean this is a 2020 truck. It just turned 5,000 miles. We're anticipating that the engine will come out, obviously without an issue. That's no big deal, taking motors out. The engine configuration compared to the 2018, the compressor and alternator are flipped from the last time he did the 2018. So this is kind of like a learning curve for us and for him, so we're going to keep him closely in the loop. That way when he offers swap components for the 20 and 21, he's going to know what he needs and what fits. Hopefully it makes it easier for the next guy. If the harness is good, we're good. We have to build fuel lines probably. Radiator hoses are completely different. That's no big deal. Drive shaft is going to be in a different spot. We have to lengthen or shorten the drive shaft. We have a drive shaft shop. That's not a big deal. Cross member we don't know yet. Engine mounts he has if the compressor and alternator work. This has electric power steering, and the power steering box is very close to where the air compressor is, so I'm kind of like fingers crossed that it fits and it doesn't get in the way of that. It was about 4 months ago I was here last, and honestly I did not remember how to get here. I gotta love the GPS. So let's go ahead and meet Jared. Let's go look at my motor and let's see if there is anything else that we need to know. There's a famous battery operated truck. All right, still got my strap on here.
I had to leave your strap on.
This is a family show, Jer. Family show. I need to do a family shows. Do you know how many views kids shows get on YouTube? And my kids watch them like over and over and over again. They don't just watch them once. I can guide you if you want to bring. How are you putting it in? Are you going to put it up on the fork? On the strap?
Yes.
If you want to...
Roll it back. I need to get the old Ugga
Yeah. What are you guys doing to this? Are you actually working on it, or is it just...
It's one of my employees.
Oh, okay. Because somebody said in there that everyone's trying to buy it. Yeah, looks like you need heavy-duty safety equipment for that thing. Nothing you need. Alright, we are loaded up. Time to head back. I got it strapped in nice and solid. I feel good about that.
Getting directions to LHT Performance.
Alright, I'm guessing we're gonna go right.
Is about 32 miles away by car.
So it's 32 miles one way.
Yeah, and this motor has 37 miles on it, but now it has 64 miles. It's just like your Corvette when we sent the heads to West Coast the second time on your other Corvette.
Yeah.
Your Corvette heads had more miles in an airplane
than the
powering
actual
a Corvette. You're high enough. Is that a wood underneath there still?
Yeah, it's gonna clean up. It's gonna hit the tailgate.
Oh, the trunk's going uphill.
Yeah. It's the rake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Piece up. All right, motor is home. Let me show you the harness. You can see how nice this is. You honestly can't tell this from the GM harness unless you actually look for it and find his labels, which are super clearly marked, and it has his logo on there. But that makes it so much easier. You can see everything is labeled. You know what it does. Cylinder head ground, obviously right there. ECU plugs, second O2s, primary and secondaries. And the plan is just to put this thing together 100% stock as the Silverado with the cats on it. These should fit, and we're thinking they should fit in the right location. We might have to modify this Y, but biggest hurdle is putting the motor in and it clearing everything. If that works, the rest of it is downhill. It should be fairly, I don't want to say it, but it should be good. I don't want to speak too soon.
Yeah, when I was talking about it earlier, it's like, well, it should just go in,
Yeah.
plug in, and fire up.
Yeah, hook up these. Obviously these are maybe on the other side. AC is obviously on the opposite side. Transmission lines might be different. They should be on the same side, but they might be different. That's the transmission there. You saw us sent that over to George and had him do his magic on that. But these obviously can be cut and changed to fit the radiator, and the radiator is a pretty decent size, so it should be pretty good capacity. You can see his mounts right here. Actually has some adjustability, and this.
I think we could probably just get a like maybe a K&N or something for a Silverado.
Yeah, so it looks
and
right.
It'll already have the correct mass airflow size and everything. We won't have to worry about anything. Just should plug in and run, right?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what that looks like. But yeah, if the filter is in the same size on a Silverado,
yeah.
Let's take a look at our truck real quick.
There's the trash can.
Our intake is going to be coming this way, so either way it's going to have to bend that way. ECU is over there. The ECU is going to go in the same place. Obviously that's the way he has the harnesses set up. This is our concern, is alternator on this side and AC compressor here, but they are kind of low down. Our concern is the motor sitting in and not getting interfered with down there. This is obviously the main fuse box. This shouldn't be an issue. This big trash can lid comes off, and providing the motor fits, I mean, we have what, 5 inches?
Yeah, at least.
So as long as the motor doesn't touch that fan, we should be able to keep the same fan. And there is the, let's see, what is this? This is AC line. That down there is oil cooler lines. We'll see. What we'll do is we'll get this in. We're going to start it first thing tomorrow morning, pull this motor out, and we'll take a look, and we'll put the motor side by side so you guys can see how close they are, and we can get an idea of what else we need to swap over. All right, guys, it's day one of the Colorado swap. Just to let you know, we are stocked up with LHT merch. Check out the store. We have a whole bunch of cool shirts. Check it out, lhtperformance.com. Click on the store. So the Colorado, here it is. This is the last day of it being a V6. So I did wash it last night. I always like to have it looking good, but of course when it's going to be coming in pieces and hopefully leaving transformed, I want it to look right, look the part. So let's look at the official miles on it right now. I think it's like 5,100. I always like to kind of document it just so we have it. 5,116. So if everything goes well with the motor, which I hope it will, I will sell this engine and transmission. It's already had 2 oil changes. There's no issues with it. Of course, it didn't do anything with it, but it's I guess it's warranted. I don't know, maybe when you take it out and you put it on the floor, the warranty is no longer good. All right, first thing we're going to do is look in the store and do any orders that need to be done before we get started on the truck. So George isn't here yet. It's still early. He'll be here in probably about 30 minutes. So I'll go ahead and get this taken care of. So we've got 2 orders. We'll go ahead and get those processed. All right, here it is. So it's on the lift, we're starting it. This is day 1 of the Colorado V8 swap. So first off, I want to thank our sponsors, HP Tuners. They are supplying the ECU and the tuning capability, and of course current performance wiring for the engine harness and engine mounts. And I'm sure we'll give you some tips along the way if we see something, if there's part numbers, all that kind of stuff. We'll see if we can make it a little easier for you guys. If you're looking at doing this, if you want a Colorado and you want a V8 swap, we'll see if we can give you some of the information, make it achievable. But let's go ahead and pave the way and see if we can do it first. All right, so a quick look underneath of the Colorado. We haven't actually been under here. Look at the size of that muffler. That is massive. So we have a 3-inch inlet. We're actually planning on keeping the exhaust and keeping everything from the Silverado. So looking at this, it's slightly different to the Silverado setup. It's got 2 cats and then 1 single over here, where the Silverado has 2 in and then 2 further back from that. So obviously that is going to be different, but we are keeping everything that comes off the Silverado. I want to keep it friendly and emissions friendly. If this goes somewhere else in the future, I want to make sure everything works correctly. So that is the engine mount setup. Those mounts should bolt to the brackets, the current performance centers. Looks like a pretty beefy dry shaft. We'll know once we get into it if that needs to be shortened, lengthened, and who knows what. It's an aluminum piece, so we have access to someone that can do that. We're thinking the cross member might work. If not, we can modify it. We can always cut that pad and change it and make that eyelet. This is where we need it, not a big deal. So let's get into it. Let's start taking things apart. Pretty messy getting it out because there is no actual cover to get to the torque converter bolts. Torque converter bolts, obviously you would usually get this way and leave the torque converter on the transmission and release it, but
we could probably get it from behind the starter, but the starter is also like very buried in the engine mount as well, so it's a lot of work to get to that starter.
These 2 bolts here had that little inspection cover,
yeah, which
that did basically nothing.
Covered it there. It
wasn't an inspection cover, it was a screw-up cover, because there's a gap here and someone forgot about it, so somebody else was told to start making little covers. So that's what the back of the motor looks like. As you see, we did it the dirty way. The torque converter is on the motor. We did a decent job. We had a bit of a splatter, but then we caught it in the bucket. We drained the trans as much as we could, but obviously that is coming out of the torque converter. Now, again, make some more room. I think we're going to pull the exhaust manifolds off, and then we should be able to pull the motor out of the top. Massive wheels and tires. Well, they're massive for us. We're Honda people, so you guys are going to look at these and go, they're nothing. You need 44s. Whatever that means. There's no 44 on this anywhere. Is it like that? 44? 265, 16, 44. All right, so these are out the way. Those suckers are heavy. We're going to go lower to the ground. One of the reasons we took the wheels off. Plus, manifolds are through there, so we're going to drop the manifolds to be able to pull the engine out, because everything is so tight in here. And fuel lines we still need to look at. There is literally hoses all over the place, and because we're not a regular Colorado shop, we have to kind of look at the hose and find out where it goes. You know, you look at it and you go, okay, where does it lead to CSC? That goes to the battery. You know what I'm talking about. So gotta get to those fuel lines, break those off. They're around the back of the motor somewhere. We're gonna go down. There is one. I think there's 2 fuel lines going to this, isn't there, George? I see one right there.
It looked like it.
So there's another shiny line down there. There's one main line right there. Super easy to get to. So once the manifolds are off, a few more hoses off, few wires, we should be able to take this motor loose, pull the radiator out, bring this motor forward, come out the top. Hood is going to have to come off, obviously. Engine is not going to come out very high with this guy on. No spraying it all over the place. However, there is a funny sound comes out of it while you're doing it. Feel it? I think it is. Yeah. What's that? Wow. Made a big click as I was unscrewing the cap. I'm like, that can't be me. Alright, that was the funny chirping sound right there. As you hear, the stream is pretty cranking now. Alright.
First one, night train down the road.
Mike on line 1.
So we're still comparing what is different and what is the same, what we need. And one thing we're finding out is, it's not a big deal, but the mass airflow is a different plug to the Colorado quite a bit. It's got 4 pins. Colorado, I think, has 8. These on the harness current performance sent, they should be in the right spot. These are the oil cooler lines. We're going to leave these on the motor, take them off hours, kind of leave them hanging so we can see what we need to do. These are the fuel lines that came with the 5.3, so they're in a different spot to ours. Our fuel line one is on this side and the vent is on here. Well, the vent is on here and it runs over to this purge valve right over here, so that one might stay the same. We might have to maybe recrimp this here and run our fuel over to this side. Again, we're kind of feeling it out as we go. Motor is still in the truck, but it's close. Super cautious ratcheting. So these mounts, if you've ever done one of these Colorados, the 3 mounts going down, they're a 15mm head. They absolutely suck. I don't know if Chevrolet put Loctite on those things, but we're using obviously the 1/2 inch. This is the easy one to get to. The other side is a real pain in the butt. You need 14 extensions and 6 swivels and ratchet wrenches and knuckle busters, all that kind of stuff. But they are not fun at all. So we have 2, I left the socket wrench on here. We have 2 bolts at this side and it should be ready to come out. We have the lines all disconnected. Transmission lines we're going to leave in because they're under the motor. Oil cooler lines are off. Radiator hoses are off. I think we're good, right? We take these 2 off. And
I'm still contemplating whether we're gonna have to pull the intake manifold to use a bolt in the valley for the strap.
yeah, and
But I think if we crawl underneath it and use our seat belt that still has the eyelet on it, we can bolt it to the back of the block where the transmission bolted in.
I'm still wondering, are we going to get this out with a radiator in? Or is the radiator going to come out? Because this has to come
on the angle.
forward. Yeah, there's not a lot of room. And if this one doesn't quite come out, the other one won't go in.
Yeah, exactly.
So this sucker might have to come out. There's only really 2 lines left. There's a line at your side and my side.
That transmission cord is behind it that bolts on. And also when you pull it forward a little bit, you see like it's like pulling something else with it. So I don't know if it'll just pull right out, hop out of there or what.
Yeah, this line will come off. Is that tight? You can see how far down it goes. The radiator is really tall.
Moving the whole motor.
It goes down 6 inches below that mount right here. Actually longer, probably 8 inches.
Like snaps into those rubbers.
Yeah. But yeah, I can get my trans line off here, but I don't think the motor is going to come out without that radiator. There is some kind of...
Everything's bolted to it.
This, yeah, there's these...
the condenser's bolted to it as well.
Yeah, because this is the channels the air going in there.
Yeah.
It's got those louver things in there. That's somewhat a part of it. Those electric louvers, and there's a wire going down there that controls those. Alright, radiator is out. That is a pain because not only does it just drop in these mounts right here, it connects to this. This has like a snap that goes in it all the way along, and then there is some plastic ducting that goes down the side. I mean, they really want to channel the air through that thing. And you see the electric louvers that I talked about right here. They're all closed right now. Obviously, once it gets up to temperature, they open. Well, you can kind of see the length of my arm. I'm going from my armpit down to my fingers. That's the length or the height of the radiator. Look at this thing. This thing is massive. So I'll give you an idea. I've got my tape measure that makes everybody happy. So the core itself is around 24 3/4 tall, or 500 or 628 meters, as some of my European friends would want to know. And then width wise we have 25.5 or 645 meters, multi-meters. I know I did learn meters, I'm just playing, guys. So that is pretty big core. So 630 millimeters high. That is a big radiator, and it's heavy. It has the coolers attached to it. If I can show you real quick, we have basically the AC condenser right here on the bottom part of it, and then the upper part right here is the trans cooler. They're molded together. That's pretty nifty. That's pretty clever. So we got trans cooler right here. Oil cooler is obviously the core that runs through the tank of the radiator, and then the AC condenser is here. But you can see the two different shapes right here. You can see the size of the fins right here. You see the thinner fin and the thicker fin. All right, it's the end of the day one right now. George is leaving. It's actually getting pretty late. We gotta get home. So tomorrow we're gonna finish pulling the motor, get this motor out, take the manifolds off the V8, put the V8 in, and see what kind of clearance we have. We literally have 2 motor mount bolts hanging on there, and the motor will come out unless there is any more wires or hoses hanging up, which they most likely will be. They like to put all kinds of little clips and things holding it together, so we'll let you know as we pull it out. So hopefully you're watching. If you do, give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe. We'll see you on part 2.